if you find an amazing deal, right, and you don't have the capital to do it, what do you do? Well, welcome to Residual Money, Residual Life. And, we built this podcast because a lot of entrepreneurs out there, they're looking how to scale and grow a business, and more importantly, how to make that over and over and over again in a continuity type fashion, which is what we do here. We want to interview entrepreneurs that have a business that ultimately creates perpetuity in their life. But what do you do with that life? Why do we do it? We do it because I want to live an amazing life. I want to do things. I want to explore things. I want to have a life that's exceptional, right? And that's what I mean by that. And, I have a strong entrepreneur here, Ara, which he's been, I've met him for a long time ago. A very large developer in commercial real estate, entrepreneur, and he owns buildings all over the city. And because of that, he makes this residual income possible. And, there's a lot of things that I want to discuss with him. So welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Chase. Thanks for the kind words.
Absolutely. Well, there's 3 questions that I always ask all my entrepreneurs when they come on the show. And number 1 is, why did you become an entrepreneur in the first place? What were you looking to accomplish?
Well, basically, I started with one of the largest development companies in the world. It was a company called Lincoln Properties, and I was an asset manager for them. And so I was managing, I think the book value of assets that I was running was about $500 million,
nice.
$500 million. And this was back in the late 80s, early 90s. And
good time to be alive.
Yeah, it was. Not for the Japanese because they lost all their money. But what ended up happening is that I was starting to deal with assets that had values of 30 to 50 million, some $100 million. And it's a nice lifestyle if you can own a building like that.
Yeah.
How can I get there?
Sure.
So eventually I went on to another company that was a large development company called Divco. And then I went to a leasing company called Colliers International,
sure.
which is one of the largest in the world. And then I went off on my own because I wanted to do these things on my own, have the residual income from ownership. And this is what the companies did
of course.
that I was working for.
Yeah.
So that's how I did get into it, but work for some of the largest and the best.
Nice.
And I'll do it on my own.
Well, another question is, what's your greatest accomplishment? Now, this can be either personally or professionally, but what do you feel is like one of the biggest things that you've done?
Well, I've always been able to make money because of being in this field. Real estate's an excellent field to be in.
Sure.
And so because of that, I've had the opportunity to live a pretty rock star life. Best accomplishment was in 2002. I was in the Olympics. I was a bobsledder.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bobsledder? No way.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Like the Jamaican, what's the bobsled?
The Jamaican bobsled.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing is, like, the Jamaicans did it. I knew a bunch of the guys for the U.S., but I'm Armenian.
Yeah.
That's my heritage.
Yeah.
And I am an Armenian bobsledder.
Nice.
But it's hard to find an Armenian guy that's 6'1", 240 and can play basketball. So that's it is fast. So those were kind of the prerequisites. So you had to be fast, strong as an ox, and you had power, which dunking a basketball is power.
Yeah, absolutely. You tell me you can dunk a basketball?
Not anymore.
All right.
My Rockstar Life family took a little bit away from that.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Now it's like, oh shit.
Yeah. But 2002, I was in the Olympic Games, and because I've always kind of worked for myself, I've had that entrepreneurial desire to be my own boss. I basically, while I was working for companies, I learned how to get out of it as fast as possible. When I got to Colliers, I was 30.
Sure.
Contractor, you don't have to go into the office if you don't want to.
Absolutely.
It's not a 9 to 5. So because of that, I had the opportunity to work out a lot and travel. And so I've been all over Europe at all these different bobsled tracks, Lillehammer, Eagles in Austria, and all through the United States and Canada. So
I know you made the transition from Colliers, right? So how did you actually acquire your first property? What kind of deal did you do? And I'm curious because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that would love to get into commercial real estate or love to buy a building, but they don't necessarily have the funds. So tell me about your first buying experience.
And I don't believe it's necessarily that you don't have the funds, because residential real estate is so expensive.
Yeah, totally. Well, here, yeah.
Yeah, that commercial real estate, residential brokers were always considered secondary to commercial brokers. We were the elite, and especially developers. Residential brokers now, some make money on par with some of the commercial brokers. Now, the top commercial guys are still making 30 to 50 million a year, and a residential broker is not going to make that. But what got me into commercial was the allure of it. It's exciting, it's sexy, you're dealing with all the big money, and the property values are much higher, or they were, and that has changed somewhat. But what got me into Colliers was that I was able to, I had a very good network, had a lot of high net worth individuals that I became close with. I had the knowledge from working with the large companies that I had previously mentioned. And so because of that knowledge, I knew how to get into a building, buy it, restructure the deal with the tenants, put new tenants in there, and basically you're repositioning an asset. So maybe you buy an asset that has $10,000 in income a year. Because I knew what I was doing, I could go in there, sign new leases, and possibly get it up to $20,000 within a year's time.
Then it's worth a lot more.
Yeah, and then what happens is you capitalize an income, and so where the value of a $10,000 building is $1 million, $20,000 may not be $2 million, it may be $3 million.
Right.
3.2.
Got you.
You're capitalizing on the income, so there's a multiplier effect that
makes sense.
Way. And so the money, not only are you getting the cash flow, but you're also getting the appreciation on the
Sure.
asset.
Sure. Now, I'm curious because, I know commercial real estate, like back in the day, you talk about the 80s and all that stuff. It was the hype, right? But now you talk about like guys that are building like these e-com businesses. A lot of people are remote now. Do you feel like it took a toll on commercial like office space? Certainly, right? You have the big companies that will always need office space, but then you have a lot more entrepreneurs that are not necessarily getting an office now, but are actually developing remote staff. What's your thoughts on that?
Let me correct you a little bit there. So the office space, even with remote, everything's going into essential business districts, downtowns.
Sure.
So you look at what's happening today is Google's taking 1 million square feet right next to the Shark Tank or HP Pavilion.
Sure.
And so there's going to be a huge development, and Google's going to have all their employees down there. And you do let employees work from home, but typically that's on a 2 to 3 day period.
Yeah.
Where the rest of the time those employees are in the office. So office space has seen a huge boom over these last 10 years. We've had a tremendous increase in activity and production and development. And so, and this is also because we're in the Bay Area,
right,
where you have the technology companies that are proliferating here. And so what's happening is office space has gone from rates of $250 a foot back in the 90s, late 90s, to where now we're at $5, $6 a foot, and it's absolutely unheard of. It's very expensive to live here, and I think we're bound for a crash. Now, retail space is what I think you're talking about, because the e-commerce, it's gotten hammered because e-commerce and companies like Amazon have worked to.
So what do you do with that as a guy? Let's say that you're a commercial guy and you have all you have is like retail listings. What do you do with that?
Well, you try to reposition those assets. So one of the things that's happening is retail centers and suburbs, what they're doing is where there's a large box where there may have been a Target or a Home Depot. That Home Depot is not making money out in the suburbs anymore because people are moving into central cores, the central business districts. And that's where the companies are going. That's where people are going. And so that's where retail is thriving and flourishing. The suburbs, where everyone used to live and they used to commute, you can't do that anymore because it takes an hour to go 10 miles.
Absolutely.
Here in the Bay Area. So, it makes sense that you're going to be in the central business districts, or you're going to be commuting. So what they're doing is they're repositioning those assets, the big boxes, which is where the bloodbath is. They're looking at converting those to apartments now.
Makes sense.
Looking at doing different uses where instead of having a Target there, what you're doing is you do indoor golf, which is some of the places you do.
Yeah, you guys got to do indoor snowboarding.
Centers. You can do snowboard. Maybe we'll do that together.
That would be legit, dude.
Maybe I'll do a bobsled.
Oh my god, dude, that would be. You know where that Kmart is? Where the old Kmart is?
Yeah.
Where they built like the apartment buildings, right?
Yeah.
That place would have been amazing for like a indoor like.
Bingo. So Kmart, they built apartments. You answered your question specifically.
Yeah, totally.
So the big box, the stuff that's 25, the Petco's.
Yeah.
Then you go from Petco's to like the Trader Joe's. Then you go up to the Whole Foods, then the Safeways. Then you have the Targets and the Home Depots. That's a progression of size. 15,000, 25,000, 50,000, 75 to 100,000, bloodbath.
So what's the end game, right? So the end game, obviously, you acquire units. You basically, like in our business, we have these multiple income streams that are coming in. Just like you have all these buildings, and every building's spawning off money, right? So, but what is the end game? Just do you take that? Do you just take that residual forever, or is there a point where it makes sense to just sell it and get out of the business?
So real estate has 3 properties, which make it fundamentally so attractive. You have, when you buy a real estate investment, you have the tax benefit of depreciation. So you get to depreciate the asset, which you don't get to do with other investments, which limits the amount of taxes that you pay. And then Trump has passed through a tax law because he's a real estate investor, and the first, I think, $50,000 in income on certain real estate assets are not taxed. So if the property is making
every year.
Every year.
Oh, nice.
So there's another avenue which
that's income, not like
income
offset.
Off of the property. They say $50K comes right off the top.
But does the $50K, is that like profit, or is that like just okay?
Pure
so $50K profit. The first $50K in profit.
I have a building. It pays me $250,000 a year.
Got it.
Okay, my tenants pay me as the owner $250,000 a year.
Okay.
That's after expenses. That's my profit. I would usually have to pay taxes on that. Okay?
Got you.
If I got money from a stock, I would pay capital. I would pay capital gains or ordinary income tax.
On the 250.
Would be 35% California, or 15% California, 35% federal.
Yes.
About 50%.
Terrible.
Okay. So I get $125,000. Now, if you're in real estate, what you get is Trump in the tax law, IRS code. It allows for $50,000, I believe, off of the first certain amounts of money. If you make over a certain amount,
right,
you don't pay taxes. So now my taxable income is $200,000 and $50,000 is in my pocket.
Nice.
Okay. Now I was making $125 before, so I'm already at $50. Now that $200,000 that I have left, I get to depreciate my real estate. So if I have a building that's worth $1 million, I can't depreciate land because it's always going to maintain its value. It never depreciates. But the building, which is going to be about 50 or 60% of the value that you purchase it for. So I buy a building for $2 million. $1 million is the value of the building, per se. You can just assume. And then I get to depreciate that over 39 and a half years. So that equates to $10,000 or $15,000 a year that I get to take off my income on top of the $50,000.
Can you take that all in 1 year?
You can. Okay, so you can accelerate depreciation.
If you have like a big year, you just take it all off.
There's an IRS code called.
And sell it.
It's called MACRS, Modified Accelerated Cost Recovery System. And you can do it. You can't do it. You're getting a little ahead of yourself. You can't
I'm like, I like this.
All in 1 year, but you can
cool.
do it instead of 39 and a half years. You can do it over 10 years.
But if you take that in, let's say 10 years, right?
Yeah.
You take it all like in the 10 years in 1 year, right?
Yeah.
And then sell it the next year?
You can sell it the next year, but you carry forward your depreciation. And so here's where the benefit is. If you sell and you make money, usually you pay taxes on that. That's the appreciation side. So how you make money in real estate? You get an income stream, you get the tax benefit, which is the depreciation and the IRS tax code that Trump did.
Yeah.
Then you have appreciation.
Right.
So you get income.
Sure.
But if you don't want the income anymore, you want to sell it. You should buy for $1 million, you sell for $3 million. You should be paying taxes on $2 million.
Sure.
Now you're depreciating that. Now what you can do is you can do what's called a 1031 trade. But if you do buy something else for $3.5 million, you don't get to depreciate that $3.5 million again.
Sure.
You only get to depreciate the $500,000 portion.
Got it.
Because the depreciation
Makes
is
sense.
carried forward. So you can take it, but you don't want to be overly greedy in the sense that you have to realize that there's going to be later years that you may want depreciation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, if you had a plan, I'm like, you go into it with a game plan, like I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
So, buying real estate, obviously you can make some massive mistakes, right? So and I say missteps, or you have to pivot or whatever. So in our business, obviously we make mistakes, and we have to pivot and go in a different direction or figure out where we're going to do. Now in real estate, it seems like that could be a big problem. Has there ever been a time in your career, I'm sure there probably has been, what's one of the biggest moves that you made that you had to readjust and it helped you grow?
So every real estate investor that's worth a salt has probably filed bankruptcy once and has lost their ass twice.
Right.
3 times a charm. 2010 was the financial crash.
Yeah.
I had $45 million in real estate that I owned.
Dude.
Went down to 20. So go figure the problems. So that's where the mistakes have, because what happens, and what a lot of people did too back then, is they were buying homes. And they were flipping homes. So you had the ordinary Joe that was like,
then they couldn't get money. Yeah.
And they would buy 20 homes. And then when the financial institutions crashed, the market softened. So you saw, a detraction of value in certain areas of 50, 60%. So I had a house in Tracy that was worth $400,000. I bought for $100. I pulled $200,000 on it, and then it went back down to $130.
Oh yeah.
And I earned $250 on it. So and I had that with the partner. So, the partner and I, we ended up getting out of that deal because we restructured with the bank and we paid them off. But, if you own 20 of those and you're not a guy that has some financial acumen, this is where all those bankruptcies. But guys like us do that with commercial real estate. So instead of being, okay, you have 50 million, there's a lot of guys that were 500 million.
Yeah.
And then they went down to 200 million.
Did you have to start over from scratch when that happened?
I did.
Jeez.
Yeah. But we make it fast.
No, you do. But I mean, again, you built up all these assets, and I lost a couple of homes in the 2008, 2010 era. So like I know all about that. Well, so. One other question is, I know that you keep a lean staff, right? So I'm curious, how do you find your people and to help you manage the business? Because ultimately, we do this not to get sucked into a daily grind all the time. Well, at least that's the end goal. Like most entrepreneurs actually end up sucking in and spending 10 to 16 hours. And especially if you're growing it, that makes sense. But once you get to a spot where you actually can let it go, or let it kind of breathe, how do you keep the guys motivated? How do you keep them engaged?
Well, so I'm a little bit of a different animal because I already did that. I took a 2-year hiatus, and my company kind of runs itself, and it's been very.
But you had to do it at that point. What did you do?
I was traveling.
Yeah.
But then I would also get on the phone and talk to people where deals would come in.
Sure.
Now I'm very focused on my real estate business and development. I'm doing 2 large office buildings in Sunnyvale. I've got 150,000 feet in downtown where the post office is.
Sure.
In Sunnyvale. So that's a 2-story building. We're converting that to a 9-story high rise.
Gotcha.
That building was going from a building that's worth 16 originally. We entitled it. We sold it for 32. And then we're going to end up working with a group that's going to put about 75 million into it, and then it should be worth about 150. So those are the kind of numbers that we're dealing.
When you get a partner like that comes in and makes a big, huge investment, obviously they're taking a piece of that equity.
Yeah, they're called institutional equity partners. There's groups like Carlyle and different groups that are out there. So what they do is they find local talent because everyone wants to be in the Bay Area. This is the epicenter of where world business is done.
Sure.
People don't understand that technology is running rampant right now, and it's so huge that just billions and billions and billions. So the only player that's not really here is Amazon because we all know how Jeff Bezos likes to do things. He does it on his own. But what you have is you have all these people that want to invest money. So equity partners take investors from all around the world. They'll say, we'll come in and we'll put money into a real estate deal that's over in the Bay Area. So what I do is I come up and I say, hey, I've got a deal that's going to cost $100 million. A bank's going to finance me $60 million on that deal. So I have to come up with $40 million in equity. I may only have $5 million. So what we'll do is I'll go to an equity partner. They'll come up with the $35 million. I'll put my $5 million in, and then what they'll do is they'll want what's called a preferred rate of return, which is about 15%.
So they basically lend you their equity for the deal.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I pay that 15%, but I'm not beholden to them for their money like a bank, which they're going to put hooks into me. So if the real estate falters and I can't get the $100 million I bought it for, well, I should be able to get 80 or 70 or 60, which gets the bank out of my hair, and then I don't get sued by the bank.
Sure.
But the equity partners, they want 15% on their money because they're taking greater risk.
Sure.
So there's a risk reward. This is how it works. So there's a lot of guys that will freely put 35 million to 150 million into a deal.
Sure.
If it's the right deal these days because they're getting a 15% rate of return.
No, that makes sense. Totally.
And that's how it is. It's equity partners.
That's amazing, man. Being that, I understand like how to attract clients by, what we do online and, acquiring client acquisition that way. You guys are kind of more, how do you attract clients today? What do you guys do?
Well, it's tried and true. We cold call people that own shopping centers and we say, look, we can provide a service that's better than your competitor. And that's how business is done. And we try to prove through, our firm's a boutique firm, so we compete with larger firms in the sense that we say we're more maneuverable. You can contact us. You're going to get a hold of us right away.
Sure.
You're going to get a hold of me,
right,
who has 20 years of experience versus Bob, John, Sarah, or Tom.
Sure.
Because you never know who's going to be working for the larger company.
Totally.
And it's just a sweat. It's just a grind. And they just put you through a grind because they want to pay you the lowest amount possible, and then they'll turn you over because you're part of the cattle in the herd. So there's one more that they can replace you with. With us, we're going to be, maybe we're a little bit more expensive, which usually we're not, but if we do charge a little bit more, it's because we provide a greater level of service.
Sure.
And so what we're doing
that matters in that type of field.
It does. Yeah. And you get to contact me, and very focused on my business. We're opening up several, different parts store company. We're going to become a general contractor as well. So we're doing construction.
Yeah.
With my business, we're doing development. We do property management. We do, consultation, and we do investing for people. So
nice.
It's working out quite well.
Well, entrepreneurs, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to our show, and they essentially are looking to start a business or grow a business. What's the best advice that you would give an entrepreneur that's looking to start a business or grow a business? What's the best advice that you would give? What's the best piece of advice?
Best advice is go do it. If you have a dream and you are entrepreneurial, so you got to make sure that you have that entrepreneurial spirit, because you're not gonna.
What does that mean exactly? I mean, I know what it means. I don't want to distract people to not do entrepreneurial, but it's a bitch, man. So
well, when I first started, I remember I was trying to find my own software that was for financial reporting, and I didn't understand accounting that well. So I'm at my office at 2:00 in the morning screaming at my computer because I'm trying to do it myself, because I didn't have the funds that necessitated or allowed me to go hire, an accountant and spend another $20,000 at that time. So you're doing things on your own. You have to be pragmatic. You have to understand, how can I get from point A to point B as quickly as possible by spending the least amount of dollars? Now, the best advice is just freaking do it. Go. Do it. And just go, because it'll start to come together. But you have to have that. You and I have it.
It's one of those things. You gotta stay true. Stay true to the cause.
Yeah, most people will sit there and they'll say, I'll do it next year.
I'm not ready yet. I'm almost ready.
Yeah, exactly. But so you just gotta do it.
Yeah.
Just go do it. I tell you, when I go into work, I make a decision. Every day I make 50 decisions, and I don't look back at those decisions.
You can't really.
And I stick with them. And things get done.
Yeah. You have to keep moving the needle forward. That's exactly how it goes. Now, as far as we talk about residual money, but we also talk about residual life, right? And the reason why I got into business as an entrepreneur is I wanted to be able to never have to worry about money. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to go to Cabo and jump on a jet with my friends, I don't even have to look at my bank account. Just go. And most people will never be able to do that, right? Yeah. But that's why I did it. Yeah. And I think there's you got to celebrate the wins, because being an entrepreneur is very difficult. So what do you do to actually live a more residual type life, where you're actually being able to do the things that you want to do?
Well,
right?
I do the business and I'm successful because I have 3 wives. So I'm broke. I have to pay that. That's kind of true. So I do by necessity. I have to make a lot of money.
Sure.
Yeah, and like I told you, my first wife I put through law school to become a family law attorney and sue me. So not the smartest move I've ever made, but it's success breeds success.
Right.
And I'm now doing the 3rd time that I feel very successful, and I feel like things are starting to pop and really move. We talked a little bit about some of the things that I'm doing, how we tie in.
Sure.
And success breeds success. And so I've been doing this for 20 years now, and it's always a learning curve. And I finally have it down. I'm not going to get myself involved with too much debt. Everything that I have is 50% or under, where banks will allow you to go to 65 to 75%. I won't do that.
Yeah.
So make your money and then be risk averse. To a certain extent, I still can take risks, but the risks I know that I'm taking now are much better than the ones that I took previously.
Sure.
I only invest in certain markets. Like if a deal doesn't scream to me, and if it's too much work, I don't need the deal.
Yeah.
You don't chase deals.
And then you don't chase them. And the other thing is that there is a lot of risk. And then when you start growing a company, you have a lot of employees. You have to not just think about you being trying to make it all happen. It's you really have to look at oh shit, well, if this doesn't work right, you got to start thinking the risk adverse thing that you were just talking about. You have to rearrange the formula.
You manage it. And so being 20 years in this business now, it's a much different model that I take than when I first did. Before, I would just go buy everything. Now it's the deal better be there. And then if I have to chase the deal, if it gets hair on it, it's, you know what, guys, enjoy your deal.
Yeah.
And it's problematic to buy now because everyone, numbers are so baked in to people's consciousness, and the deals are so baked in where, it's so expensive, and everyone knows how expensive real estate is here. To go and find a deal now, it's incredibly hard. So you need the expertise to go out and do it, or you're really going to get burned. I would not want to be a novice going out there and trying to do this.
Yeah, no, California, it would just be death, honestly. Yeah. I can't see. And just speaking to that, and being that this is your world, what are some of the other hot areas right now that people are investing in, in the United States, hot areas nationwide?
So I was telling you the box is not doing well. So you can find good deals on box. Wherever there's a bloodbath, there's an opportunity.
And box is a commercial real estate?
50,000 square foot big space.
Got it.
Box. What I was talking about before. So if I could go buy Kmart, and I could buy the Kmart for $50 a foot, and I can convert that to residential, which is worth $200 a foot, and it cost me $100 a foot to build. Well, that's the model. The land should cost me a quarter, then the construction and the development should cost me half, and then profit should be the other half. So
Sure.
if I buy for 50 and I put 100 into it, I should sell for 200 million, and I should make $50 million. I'm not going to do a deal otherwise.
If you find an amazing deal, right, and you don't have the capital to do it, what do?
Equity partners.
Is that like always the play?
Or you go out and find private equity.
You said something about joint venture before.
So one of the deals that I did is that if it's the right type of place, so the Sunnyvale development that I did, what I ended up doing is I went and talked to the guy trying to buy the asset. He said no. And so what I said is, let's go entitle the asset together. So it was a 2-story building, was retail on the ground floor, real estate office, insurance office, and then apartments, which were really old, tired apartments, but still in downtown Sunnyvale. But it was a 2-story building. And so we wanted to convert it. The city was saying that we would allow you to convert it without going through what's called an entitlement process. We would allow you to do 4 or 6 stories of apartments. Didn't make sense to do that because the cost of construction would be too great and it was too small of a site. Well, we went into the city and we said, well, Mr. City, we don't want to do apartments. We want to do an office building. And downtown Sunnyvale is being completely redone and there's new offices going up and it's crazy development.
It's nice over there.
So so this was the time to hit it and it was opportune. And so I have the knowledge. My partner on the deal had the building. So we went in, we entitled it. I came up with, a percentage of the cost of the entitlement. And then we ended up, instead of selling it for X amount of dollars, we sold it for Y, which was 2 to 3 times that amount because we were able to go through and entitle it. And so that's where the joint venture process occurred. If we would have stayed in the deal, we could have put more money into it and then had equity partners, and that would be to develop it. And that particular project is probably going to cost about $75 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you
time to go.
Gotta have a little bandwidth.
I feel you, man. Hey, man. Well, there's a lot of gems in what you brought to the table today. I sincerely appreciate your time. If people want to get a hold of you or want to find out more about how to invest in commercial real estate or even learn more about the things that you know, how do they get in touch with you?
So if you Google me, Ara Bezdjian will come up. Last name is Bezdjian. My company is A&B, that's Alpha Nancy Bravo Property Corp. Phone number is 408-554-2525. Easy.
All right. So much. Thank you so much for stopping in and spending time with me, brother. Look forward to the next time that we get to meet and definitely be chopping it up and doing some work together. So thanks again.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you, man.
All right.